Hey everyone, it's Paul here from Hopeful Consciousness again. I thought I'd do a video because of what's happening right now in the world. So it's the first one I've done for a little while after my 14-day challenge. And I wanted to do a message really to put a bit more hope out there in the world a little bit. Right now, there's some very strange things going on in the world. But I'm actually not too worried about that myself. I have firmly and a long time ago moved over to the camp of hopefulness, freedom and love over here. So over the next few weeks and few months, you're going to see increasingly weird stuff happening in the news, in the world, and you're going to think, how on earth is this possible? How have we got to that point? And I want to try and help explain why we're there and why it's okay. And just to know that you can stand strong in this unusual time and be absolutely fine. So let's just take a step back for a moment into what I believe we are. Now, you may not believe this, that's absolutely cool, but just imagine it for a minute and just give it a try. So if you can imagine, we came forth into this three-dimensional world to have these experiences of being a human and experience what life has to offer, to experience the sort of duality of having a certain opinion and a point of view and all of these things, to have an identity that we associate with labels, beliefs and things like that. So for example, an identity would be, I am Paul. I have certain beliefs and things that I think are true in the world. You could then put labels on me, like I'm British, white male, you know, the typical kind of stuff. I like my gaming stuff and other bits and bobs like this. You can pack in loads of labels and all kinds of things along those lines. But that's not really who we are. We are much more than that. And if you look at the sort of energy states and that sort of side of the equation, we are basically this point of attention of this infinite consciousness. So you could almost imagine it in a, I'll say the word godlike sense, but I know that might get a bit of friction and resistance with some of you. So if you imagine we're almost like a piece of God, and it's sent down a little experience of itself to, a little piece of itself to have this experience here in the world. So I'm not saying that we are God. That's just a phrase I'm using that might help you understand a little bit into the point of reasoning. So we are embodying a vibrational frequency at all times. Now, the frequency you choose to vibrate and embody and live in determines how you perceive the world. Now, if you perceive that there's hatred, anger, war, terror, all kinds of horrible things in the world, that's what you'll focus on, and your perception filters in your mind will be focused in that direction. Equally, it can go the opposite way, and if you focus on love, freedom, hope, and things like this, even though that stuff may be happening, you may not experience that, and it won't be your perception. So you get to choose how you perceive the world through these filters. And that's kind of the beauty of this sort of duality. That's where you came here to experience this different point of view to other people. So when we're seeing right now really unusual stuff happening in the world, things you probably would never think would happen, restrictions, lockdown restrictions, you've got masks being mandatory. They're talking about kids here in the UK having to wear masks in school. Can you believe that? Yeah, shutting down the borders, quarantining people, and that's just a little tip of the iceberg here in the UK. You've got local lockdowns, supposed second waves coming and things like this. In other parts of the world, you've got Australia that I think literally just today have, I would consider it declared almost martial law, where people are under house arrest from 8 p.m. onwards in the evening. So there's a lot of things, and there's so much information out there about coronavirus, other things, and in general, actually, it doesn't really matter what your point of view is on that one. Let's just take a step back from your point of view and whether you're right or wrong with your opinion about a virus or any of the other things you've heard in the news related to this. The best way to look at it is to take a step back and say, does what this message is sending me or giving out embody one of two things? Does it embody hope, freedom, openness, and love? Or does that message embody fear, control, constriction, worry, anxiety, and things like that? You get to choose which of those two you feel that message gives you. And then you have the choice as to whether to accept that or choose to focus on something else. For me, a lot of the stuff that's coming out regarding coronavirus has been firmly in that camp right since March when all this happened. That's why I've been quite steadfast in my opinions with things, much to many people's disbelief, I would say. But I can see that the overlying feeling of all that vibe is not a good place to be. Fear, control, anxiety, censorship, and all these other things. And that's not what I want to focus on in life. So I take a step back and I go, no, I want to focus on this. Now, that's not to say you're not going to get dragged over there at some time. So what's happening in the world right now is there's a lot of structures and things in place that we've been living with hundreds or thousands of years. And they are starting to wobble. The entire planet's consciousness, if you like it, all of the humans here are starting to wake up a little bit and raise their vibrational frequency to more one akin to love, hope, and freedom. As a result of that, what's happening is the old school camp that uses, the mainstream media that uses fear and these other censorship tactics and things like this to control everyone are getting a little bit wobbly. And when they get a little bit shaky on their ground, they're going to impose more and more control, censorship and fear right to really extreme levels to try and drag people back that have moved over to this camp here back into fear territory, because that's where they want to be. That's where they can control you, dictate how you live your life, and have you conform to the systems that they've made up and want you to live by. So I just want you to know that is absolutely cool. When that system wobbles, it's going to feel perhaps even like the world is collapsing around you. But that's okay. In order for that system to fail, it's going to have to go through those wobbles. And I'm telling you now, from my perspective at least, what happens when that collapses, you get a much better future over here. And that's what we're moving towards. In the end, we all know that love, hope and freedom are always going to win. It's not really a battle of good and evil, so to speak. It's just people want better things. They want to grow in their life. And this hope and freedom is a much nicer message to resonate with. So it's quite all right to feel shaky. I'm very much steadfast and choosing to completely stay in this camp as much as I can. Sometimes I get obsessed with some of the facts and figures. And to be honest, there's so many theories out there. Who knows what's right? But some of the controls that are going to be imposed from this camp here, you're going to have a choice as to whether you're going to follow that. And at some point, it might push enough buttons to shift you over here, because you might go, hang on a second, this doesn't make sense. What that camp is saying makes no logical sense. And that's how you can tell it's over in that camp a little bit. You step back and you go, does this feel good for me or not good for me? And you get that immediate sense of, no, there's something not right there with that message that they're giving me. The logic behind it doesn't make sense. Now, you may not be in a position right now to say, no, I don't want to accept that. And that's cool. You know, there's a lot of folks that are reliant upon the systems that are in place. You know, you may, I'll use masks for a fantastic example. People like myself, I'm choosing to say no to wearing them. And I pretty much will not wear a mask in a shop. Now, I know that might sound controversial to a lot of people, but that's the point where I'm choosing to say, no, you've gone too far. And it's amazing how taking that stance can really empower you. It is a scary place to be sometimes, and it takes a lot of courage to be the only person, for example, in a shop who doesn't have a muzzle over their face. And that's cool. Please don't think there's any judgment here on whether you have to do that or not. I totally understand why people choose to wear masks and things like that. There's a lot of peer pressure built up around that, and most people just want to get on with their lives, and if it means getting on a train, they just have to put a mask on. They'll just do it because they need to go to work, earn a living, and things like that. I'm in the fortunate position where I'm able to work from home and take that stance straight away now. But what's going to happen more and more, the controls from this side of the camp are going to get crazier and crazier. So there may be a point where you will have to say no to that. It's always your choice. You can remain in that camp if that's where you want to be. But if you ultimately want to transition over to this hopeful camp, there will be a point where you may go, enough is enough. You can see that with some of the protests on the streets out there, but you really don't think you have to go out there and protest on the street or anything like that. It simply is enough just to say, no, I am not going to follow that rule. It is silly. It makes no sense. And to be honest, that's what we should really be doing with all of the decisions in our life. If someone tries to impose a bizarre system or rule on us, we should all just sit there and go, does this feel like a sensible rule? And sometimes it will. Sometimes it absolutely will go, actually, you've made a very good point there on like wearing a seatbelt in a car. Perfect example. Actually, that is proven to save lives. I can see the genuine benefit for that for my own safety. I will choose to wear a seatbelt in the car. For me, wearing a face mask, personally, I can't see the science there. I can't see the peer-reviewed science for it. In fact, I've seen a lot of stuff that says the exact opposite to that. And I'm mostly looking at it as a method of control, when it really is an interesting psychological experiment into whether people are willing to go that far. Because there's one thing that happens if you receive a message from this camp of fear, as I call it, this vibration of fear, and you know it's rubbish, but you feel like you have to do it anyway. That can cause a little bit of an erosion of yourself, really. It can feel like you're giving in to something and you're losing a bit of your own, almost like courage, but dignity and things like that in a way. Now, you can still wear, for example, a mask and not resonate with that. You can go, you know what, I'm wearing a mask. I just need to right now because I've got to get on the train and I've got to go to work or I've got to go shopping and things like that. And I can't be dealing with the hassle of it. And that's cool. And you can resonate still in this hopeful camp, even though you've had to put a mask on, because you know you're just doing it in a temporary measure, and you can still associate in a positive way with that. You know it's not forever and things like that. But what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks, couple of months, this side is going to get really wobbly and shaky. As it does, more people will move over to this side and say, hang on, we're not agreeing with that. Then this side here will impose crazier and crazier things to yank those people back over to the state of fear, because they love that control. And these are really old systems and things that are sort of falling down and collapsing. And just recognize that, and recognize that sometimes, you know, if that makes you feel down and dark and things like that, it's okay to feel that way. It's cool. Just, that's fine to be like that. Just because you may be feeling low or depressed on that day, it doesn't mean you are depressed. It just means you're having that experience right now in the moment. Realize that you're something greater than that. You are the awareness that's observing this character, almost like in a game. It's like I am playing the character of Paul right now. Paul makes different decisions on how he thinks the world should be based on beliefs and opinions that have been built up over a lifetime of experiences. And it's perfectly okay for Paul's experiences to be, and beliefs to be, completely different to James's experiences and beliefs. That is absolutely cool. I really just wanted to put this message out to say it's okay to be wherever you are right now at the minute. The world is going to wobble from the humanity perspective quite a bit. You are going to see more censorship. You're going to see a lot more control. But that's cool. So just remember, keep strong in your heart. I love you all. And we'll all get through this, and we'll actually emerge into a world, something that, with sort of resembling something I don't think we'd possibly even believe could happen. So this could be a really positive change. It's just sometimes when you have that big blip, you have to go through a bit of bad stuff first to get to the good stuff at the other side. So we're just going through that little blip of bad stuff, but we will get there. I have complete confidence we will. And if you do have any worries or concerns, do feel free to drop me a message. I'm hopefully going to be doing a little guided meditation later this week with nothing to do with current events whatsoever, purely to have a bit of fun with awareness and show, you know, not all meditations have to be this in a sort of set way. I've done a few myself just in my own mind where I've gone to crazy wacky places, and it's really good fun. And you can really play around with your identity and who you are, and drop parts of your identity at the same time. So yeah, do tune in later in the week. I will hopefully have that one for you. It's probably going to be about 45 minutes to an hour long meditation. Might be a bit different to stuff you've experienced elsewhere. It will be my first one. So I look forward to seeing you soon. And yeah, keep strong. It'll all work out in the end. I absolutely assure you, even if there may be a bit of unusual things happening right now. So I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.